So this is the Heritage and Events Committee meeting on Tuesday, the 9th of December, 2025, starting at 6 o'clock. Apologies for absence. We haven't.
I don't have any apologies.
Okay. Right. So 275, sorry, 25 declarations of any disclosable pecuniary interests. Nope. Okay. So 27625 minutes of the Heritage and Events Committee. It is the meeting that was held on the 16th of September. Are you happy for me to sign it as a true record of the meeting?
Please.
A minute.
I do hang on in a minute.
Right, 27725, report on the activities of the Heritage and Events team since the last meeting. And this is just to note the report. So, over to you and Phil.
I think we've been a lot busier in the last few months, so that's been great. And we started to make a lot of inroads into some of the challenges that we faced in terms of that report that I tabled way back in April, May of this year. I think we have made a lot of progress. And some of the matters that we actually will talk about in this meeting. I don't know if there's anything you want to add, Philip.
No, okay. Has anybody else got anything they want to comment on the report? Okay. Right, so we'll move on to 27825, calendar of future events.
Oh, it's to be in line.
I don't know.
This even review the calendar of town council planned events as at the date of this agenda. And decision required is to agree the events discussed and planned. So does anyone have any comments? We've got more events planned next year.
I think the major is we've been asked to have another summer event. So if you have a look at paragraph 3 there, proposed events for 26, 27, the large scale summer event, we've taken a stand and selected the date of the 13th of June. And we're still going to devise a theme for that. So we'll report back to the committee. These school holiday events. One of the things that we are proposing is to go back to our seaside resort idea again. We'll do it a little bit differently, but we also want to put in a little bit a little bit more fun and activities for the kids. Those that came to the VJ 80 day, we had the Punch and Judy show, for example, and that was a hit amongst the kids. So the idea would be to replicate some of that seaside fun to do that. The Battle of the Bands we tried to do this year, but we just left a little bit too late. And the Heritage Open Day, we did a lastminute.com Heritage Open Day this year. Philip's got a brief to do a more comprehensive one for next year, and then the Christmas light switch on, which we just had for this year, and we plan for the 27th of November next year.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Matt.
Just one thing I thought on there. We don't put remembrance on it, and I think it is our event now.
Right.
All the civic events would be standardised. They're all in the dice, but we will put it up.
Yes, I think it's worth raising it. Thanks.
Yeah, Vic.
Many of you will be aware, I'm doing better with the youth and sport. And one of the things that we're trying to do is an event that would bring, it's similar to what we've done for VE, obviously a lot less low scale, but we'd have the entertainment trucks like that. but we was looking as inviting the sports clubs to do various things that like exhibitions or whatever, maybe have a bit of the old taekwondo and all that stuff, and have them also having charitable stands. So if we could tie in something with that,
Yeah.
that was, I mean, we could probably get some funding for it. So that would help alleviate the cost to us, but it would still be the town event, even though it's funded by, or not part funded by, the committee that I'm on. It's just an idea if you, I think that's a goer, because I did like the idea of the Milford Common event. That was really successful. The town loved it. We got such great feedback. And if we can replicate that somehow, and instead of us doing all of the work, we get the sports clubs to do the stands. They have a little exhibition area and stuff like that, and we can still have entertainment and stuff like that. It's just an idea worth thinking about. If you're up for it, I'm quite happy to tie in with the committee I've got, and we could meet with Phil or something and do that. I'm also keen to do a mayoral event, Jazz in the Garden. Again, I've got to meet with Phil. We're going to be meeting soon, and I've got to talk to the clerk at Stanleyforth to get permissions for it, because there's a tie-in with the schools. They do a Norfolk show every year, and they want to bring that Norfolk show back to Thetford so that the families don't have to travel out to Norwich just to see the work the kids do. And we were just throwing around a couple of ideas, and Louise, the housing executive head, basically said, would it be nice if we could tie that in with an event that was going on in the gardens? And I've always fancied there's a mayoral event, jazz in the afternoon, where we do have a little bar, have a tea stand, cakes, scones, and whatever, so that we can recoup anything that we spend. I don't know how I'm going to make any money for the mayoral charities, but it's supporting the kids as well. I've asked Louise to come back with quotes of how much it's going to cost and where we could possibly get the funding to cover the schools part, and whether we do a charge event. It all depends on what Hillary would charge us for the gardens, but that's another event that we could do in the summer. And I mean, I know a couple of people that would possibly do the entertainment side of it, and would include local bands, like the brass band and all that, because it would be more a jazz swing, laid back sort of day. Other activities I'd like to get there is a Putney Green or something, but that's a big dependent on Stanleyforth Trust and what they're going to do with the bowls club and stuff like that. But until I get them conversations out, but I mean, there are possibilities that we can have two bigger events that is going to be subsidised. I just think, if you're happy with me to go into that a little bit further, then I'm more than happy to do it. I'll have more time from February, so.
I think Stuart.
Yeah, just on the answer to that, great ideas. Just on the sports side, do have a word with the grammar school, because they did used to do a festival of sport with showcasing different areas, and obviously you don't want to go against if they're doing something similar, or at the same time you might as well use their contacts if they're already been through the hoop. And obviously if you're using Norfolk Common, you've got that lower common area as a flatter, larger space for any team sports that require a greater an area to do their bits.
I mean, we could even use the grammar school field if they're do it. But it is.
I just think that Norfolk Common lends itself to being a town event. It really does. So I'm really supportive of that idea, because over the years we've used it for many things. So those just a couple of things. And if we are doing the entertainment on the upper bit, just rather than put a massive ring in place, let people have their picnic because they do enjoy just sitting down, watching a bit of entertainment on there. And if you like those big spaces, you know, use the blower for the team sports or whatever you want to do down there. Like that. And obviously from Stanley Trust perspective, I'm sure they'll be receptive of the idea of using it and get some further footfall through the doors that members who are here.
I mean, I just think it ties in as a town event, you know, where it's more a partnership event. So that I mean, last year, 12 grand was a hell of a lot of money. If we can put that on for half of that, then we can do more events through the year. I'm not going to promise anything much before February, but I'll get some meat on the bones and bring back proposals, and obviously I'm going to be working with the heritage team to get other stuff up and running.
Just something to flag there, potentially next year's 250th anniversary of Declaration of Independence, Thomas Paine's Common Sense. So there might be some scope of doing something there at some point.
The list is getting longer.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, did you want to say something?
We'll put these into the actions just to pursue with the various councillors that have suggested. We'll update the calendar for the next meeting.
Okay. Still got the audience with Santa, the community carol service, and Mayor's Christmas lunch for this year. Yeah. Hey.
Could I just, sorry,
Yeah.
the audience with Santa, I came over and had a look at that, and I tell you, that was one of the better events I've seen for kids with Santa. The staff were really hard on it, and I think they need to be congratulated. The place looked wonderful, and the kids that I'd seen here were thoroughly enjoying themselves. I don't think I've seen any negatives, only positives, and it wasn't. And I think the staff need congratulating on that. I know they worked really hard.
Thank you. So if we move on to 27925, which is progress on actions from the previous meeting.
I think there's a lot of completed, which you'll see there. So they will obviously fall off this list at the next meeting. So I think again, this is just indicative of the fact that we've actually managed to follow up on a number of things and make some progress.
Okay, thank you. (280.25) financial report for the 7 months ended 31st of October. This is just to receive and note the financial report for the 6 months to end of October. And over to you, Alan.
I think what we've done is we've set out the report. We've put a little summary on the proposed structure going forward in terms of having the Guildhall Carnegie entity or trust, charity, whichever you want to call it, and then the core functions of the council, the civic, town affairs, and then the Carnegie Guildhall Trust. We've just identified some of the trends. Our income did suffer at the beginning of the year, you know, in terms of things like the rental income. They've actually recovered quite a bit, and I've put some figures in the narration to the extent that we've had a lot more daytime usage of this venue, which is really superb because it means that we don't incur any extra costs. We don't have extra staff. We can use the existing staff that are around. In terms of expenditure, there's some positives and there's some negatives. We've saved a significant amount of money on the civic, but on the civic and the Carnegie salary, sorry. But we've obviously spent a little bit more money on the 4 weekly salaries because we've reduced the team quite significantly. So we have a greater reliance on the 4 weeks. Week to short line is a good time. And then, yes, I think it's actually not a bad result for the 7 months. And I think the output going forward, a lot better than the past first 3 months of the year. We're quite poor. The remaining part of the year looks quite encouraging.
Okay, has anyone got any comments?
Just one on the Christmas lights. Obviously, the Christmas lights, they don't seem to be as plentiful. I've noticed in there that there was some damage to them. I thought the electricity installers were responsible for storage and all that. So do we know what actually went wrong? Is it the lights or is it the brackets or?
Oh, no, the electricity for Christmas lights, that's actually, we get charged for, are you talking about the expenditure?
Well, it doesn't seem to be as many lights up along King Street as we've had. We already own them.
I'm not too sure. We could investigate that. I'm not sure whether, Philip, if you got any. My understanding was we spent quite a bit of money getting the lights fixed because there were a lot of them that were out. We had a lot of work done on the brackets to hold the lights in place in the buildings. I must admit I haven't actually walked down King Street at night, so I haven't noticed. But we could have. I'll certainly.
I think some brackets have failed again, and others. Nick's had trouble getting in contact with the property owners to get permission to inspect them and renew them. So that's why he's now since got the contact, but it was too late. And then some of the lights have failed since they've inspected them and put them up. So that's why some of the tree lights are out on some of the trees because
it just looked a little sparse to previous years, and I was just wondering if it was like, is it going to be a big expenditure for us for next year? Because I thought in the contract there was something for keeping the lights going was written into that.
I think in terms of the building side of it, contacting the owners, we probably haven't followed protocol to the extent that we should have in previous years. But if we want to go and make adjustments to fittings on someone else's building, we actually have to have the permission of the property owner. So we've got a lot more strict on our compliance side. And I think that's, as Philip has said, that's probably caused us a little bit of a challenge. But we can certainly investigate and come and report back to the committee. A separate item.
Any other comments? It's just a note.
There were a couple of comments passed to me about the lights actually, and that was purely that the lights that are up around the Market Square are really, really good because they're all of a similar design, all of a similar colour, you know, the same things. Once you start going down King Street, there's a mix of old, new, fixed, not, you know, it starts to look a bit like grandma's house. And that was a couple of people made that comment, how good they looked up the top and how mixed they looked down the other end. It's just a point if it's worth making. I get the money.
Okay, item 28125, matters to be considered for the inclusion in the next budget. This is the discussion report by officers on matters to be considered for inclusion in the 2026-27 budget, subject to corporate services and full council approval. So we need to approve this report to take the page.
In terms of the report, we've highlighted those items that have changed. I think some of the criticisms that we got on this year's budget was a little bit of the underfunding because we allocated significant amount of money to V80 Day. We underfunded some of the events. Remember, Sunday was underfunded, the Christmas lights was underfunded, but luckily enough, from the V80 Day, we managed to generate a bit of income, and in our Christmas light switch on, we've managed to generate income. So hopefully the activities haven't been as badly impacted by poor budgets as might have happened if some of those events hadn't been successful. So we are certainly focusing on revenue generation. I mean, even we're just running a bar on. We had mulled wine and a bar on Christmas night switch on, and they both that generated £1,000 in sales for us, excluding that. So that was actually quite pleasing. So we are trying to get a little bit more entrepreneurial, if nothing else, in some of these events, so that we have bigger budgets to fund some of the activities that we want to undertake. I am dreading corporate services meeting next week, so I'm still on the edge of my chair.
Any comments then on this? So are we happy to approve this report? And then will it go to corporate services next week?
The next phase will be a corporate services report, and then a week on Thursday it should go to full council.
Okay. Do we have to vote on that? or-
I do.
We do, okay.
Second.
So can we have a proposal then for to approve the report? Vic, and a seconder, Matt? All in favour? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right, item 28225. Receive and review the report regarding an interest in the new town crier position. Position is to approve the proposals in the report. Matt?
If we can do, can I propose we make this item below the line? Only because I think there's some context about the previous town crier that we would need to discuss openly that I just don't think we should probably do on camera sort of thing.
Okay,
If I can just, I don't know if we can we on?
I was going to say, can
Thank
we
you.
move it
If
to,
that's okay, just go, in order to have a full story, there's situations happened with the previous crowd, I just don't think we should probably say,
okay,
open as of just right now. That's doable.
right, so we can move,
There's one of the items you don't need a resolution for to change the order of the agenda and discuss it. So
right, okay.
Sorry, thank you, Chair.
We'll discuss that soon. So the next one is 28325, the lost child policy. This is to approve the policy.
this is going as part of the policy frameworks that we need in place. It's part of our health and lift. We had our Christmas light switch on, for example, and the high risk of lost children were a lot higher at some of the other events we had. So this is really just ensuring that we're up to date with all our policies and that we actually are aware of our responsibilities.
No, I think it's pretty standard policy, really. It's inclusive. I can't see anything in there that's going to cause a problem. I would hope that if there is a lost child, that's what we do. So,
Yeah, I think so. Right, so can we have a proposer then and a seconder to approve the policy? Vic and Matt? All in favour? Oh, next one, 28425. Dr. Alan Minns, to receive an update on the options previously considered by the committee to commemorate Dr. Alan Glazier Minns. We need to identify options for officers to further investigate for inclusion in the 2026-27 budget. Okay, I think last time we talked about the area opposite the ancient house. I believe there's an area in there that is possible to have a statue or a pocket park or something. And I think you sent me the information, didn't you, Stuart, that the house that is now my hairdresser's is where he lived. Is that right?
Yeah. I may just add to that, there is at the entrance to the car park there, there's a small area to the left adjoining the old theatre, which has a little bit of grass, but there's also where some motorcycle parking, which isn't very often used. So that area could be expanded somewhat to have a green park type area. As you say, it's quite relevant to where he lived. And we've got a little display outside here that talks when the theatre was, I think, on fire. He rescued the busts, which are now in the ancient house, from there. So it's all happening, and those busts are now in the Ancient House Museum. The other area, which I think I spoke to Anne about, was the down by the Hayling Path as it comes to the town bridge. Because I think in one of the censuses, he's noted having his dispensary at the Singer building in the grammar school. So you've got an area there down by Town Bridge, which is quite wide. There's an existing bench there. So that's another option. But I think erring towards the White Hart Street one would be my preference.
White Hart.
Because we already got, Maverick statue and Duke Sing one down there. I just think that gives a little bit more draw for White Hart Street. If you are looking at the heritage type quarter, the ancient house itself, Thomas Paine birthplace, and St Peter's, it gives us a bit more,
More than that. Yeah, Matt.
I think adding to that as well, we can look at doing future trails in the future, having them all sort of that side, and then Thomas Paine, Mannering, Manwaring, how I should say his name, Julie Singh, Minns, and then Boudica as well. Creates quite a really good trail through the centre. I wasn't here at the last meeting. I do apologise when this was discussed, but I wanted to thank you for bringing this up. It's something I think is really important to the town. We have such incredible heritage, and we tend to focus on our building heritage and not too much on our people heritage, which I think is fantastic. Did we sort of iron, and again, I do apologise for not being at the last meeting. Did we sort of iron out what we'd like? Are we talking statue or like? I'm team statue though.
Yeah, I mean, I think a statue and maybe a like a pocket park, so
Lots of booth.
nice area.
That'd be great.
I think I would feel a statue rather than a plaque, because the plaque, it just gets, people do read, I read them, but not everybody does go around towns reading them. Yeah, sorry, Matt.
The one thing I would say is we've got lots of statues. We haven't got a bust. So, and the reason I mention that is because a bust is a little bit cheaper. And you can have the important part, but also on the column that it rests on, you can then put enough information to explain it. So if you go down in London or any big city, you'll see loads of individuals, from that period in particular, it sort of resonates with that time. Also, the other thing that worries me very slightly is that we've had an awful lot of antisocial behaviour in the car park behind. So it would make sense to keep it at the very front rather than going into gardens, going into the back. The one thing we do want to keep is as many car parking spaces as we can, and as we're probably going to lose lots of them. So I think if it's right at the front and a substantial bust on a column, that's a slightly different take on it. Might be a bit cheaper.
Yeah.
We've used the area, I know it's a cemetery at the moment, but the part of St Peter's Church, while we're redeveloping St Peter's Church, I don't know, would that work? A part there, or I'm just trying to think of practicality. I agree, there is a little bit of antisocial down there, and we don't want to be putting too much down there. But I like the idea of the bust and the information board.
Still,
Just on the fact that anything putting into a churchyard, you still have to get permissions, which of course is a little bit more of an issue than if you are on a public car park type area. Be granted, it's not easier. The area there is sufficient to accommodate either a seated statue, or standing statue, or a bust. I did flag up to Annie that there was a concern somebody had raised about why did Dr. Minns leave Thetford.
I haven't been able to find out, have you?
It's one of those things that David Osborne supposedly said that there may be something new. So I think we did do a bit of due diligence in terms of the newspaper cuttings, because that's where David would have picked up a lot of his research. I've not come across anything untoward. I went to Dorking and went to the museum there and went through what little they did have on him. and there's a deeds or the particulars of sale of his house in Dorking when he died, which his wife put up sale, and it was called Thetford Lodge, which anything, but he didn't move into Thetford Lodge until the last year of his life. He lived elsewhere in Dorking. But Dorking doesn't seem to have any knowledge of any civic life down there or reason why he would have moved from Thetford down there. So I think we just need a little bit of due diligence with the newspaper cuttings to make sure, and the minute books, to make sure there's nothing there that's going to bite us on the bottom. But I think we can still progress the plans that we've got so far.
I can't remember if the timing is correct, but his son died in a road traffic accident and he's in our cemetery.
Yes, I think
So-
30, something like.
Is it our picture? I'll put a picture right in the little display there if you need to find out when that was.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of the reason he left, but I can't remember why. Timings. We'd have to research it.
I mean, I'll go back again and look through newspaper reports, but I only ever saw positive things about him, that he was quite very well thought of in the town and quite forward thinking in the way because he was the medical officer for the workhouse and seemed to be quite forward thinking about it. So I'll keep digging though, just in case.
I'll just wait one more comment, if I may, on what Stuart said about I've mentioned antisocial behaviour. I do, however, think that if we start to do works like that and tidy things up, it will improve and lift the place anyway. And there's always the option to do some kind of notice lighting so that it can be seen, and it also lifts that area. So, please don't think that antisocial behaviour was a negative, that I'm trying to say it's a bad idea. Thanks.
Matt?
I think if that's as well, which is it's a really valid point to make. I think a bust is much more sturdier. I love the Boudica statue, but I'm waiting for the day something gets snapped, and it'd be devastating. But there's a lot of loose, bendable, movable parts. A bust is solid, sturdy. It's going to take a hell of a lot of criminal damage to damage a bust. I mean, the Dooley Singh statue's done is weathered a fair storm or two. So I think bus, if we're going to put it in a sort of more urbanized area than a pocket park sort of thing, I think a bus is probably much more sturdy, to be honest.
So, do we need to make a decision there, or are we happy to ask
Yeah,
investigations to carry on?
I'll have a chat to the town clerk and see how we can take this forward
Good.
and come back with solid proposals to the committee.
That'd be brilliant, thank you. Right, so we got to 28525, exclusion of press and public. To consider resolving that pursuant to the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1970, the press and public be excluded for any remaining items of business on the grounds that publicity would be prejudicial to the public interest by reason of the confidential nature of the business to be discussed. Are we happy to exclude the press and the public?
Yep.
Yeah. Good. So shall we go